Good morning. How you doing? Good morning. We're going to begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning. I'd like to call the meeting to order. The Henry County Board of Commissioners special call meeting, public hearing 2021-2022 millage rate. I'd like to ask our tax commissioner and county manager to come forward.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the board. Again, this is the final public hearing for the setting of our 2021-2022 millage rate. For those that have participated, as you know, the tax commissioner has presented on 2 occasions to the board and to the public the setting of the millage rate. As a reminder to the Board of Commissioners, you all did approve our 2021-2022 fiscal year budget. And as a result of that budget, it was based on the 12.733 millage rate. At this time, I'll pause and allow the tax commissioner to go through his presentation. And then if there are any questions from the board and or the public, we'll open it up for the public hearing. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Matthews. And again, good morning, Chair and board members. Again, this is our 3rd and final public hearing on the millage for this year. I'm going to go through the same presentation, kind of go through it relatively quick since we've been through a lot of it, but there is one portion at the end I really want to kind of touch on to make sure that the public walks away with the most relevant information for today. Down. There it is. We'll start with, what is a millage rate? Millage rates are simply the tax rates used to calculate local property taxes. The rate itself represents the amount a homeowner has to pay for every $1,000 worth of a property's assessed value. The assessed value includes both the structure, the home itself, as well as the land that it sits on. And property values, these are really broken down into 2 categories. Fair market value. The fair market value is determined annually by the tax assessor's office. They come out and do an assessment of all the properties within the county. And then in April, May timeframe, they will send out an assessment notice based on their assessment of the property, letting the taxpayer know this is what the property, this is the estimate of what their fair market value has been, or the property has been assessed at. And if the taxpayer has any issues or concerns, they have 45 days to appeal that decision to the Board of Assessors. The assessed value represents 40% of the fair market value. People often wonder what you're being taxed on. You're not being taxed on the fair market value of your home, but rather 40% of the fair market value of your home. So that fair market value is actually multiplied, or that fair market value is multiplied by 40% to give you your assessed value. And to see what that looks like, I want to do a quick calculation, just looking at calculating the property tax. And again, this is based at the 12.733 millage rate, which includes your county millage rate as well as your special service special service district taxes, which I'll get into in just a moment. But again, that final rate would be 12.733, as it has been for the last several years. And again, the calculation is simply taking the assessed value minus any exemptions that may be applied and multiplying that by your millage rate to give you your amount of taxes due. In example 1, we'll look at a homestead property with a fair market value of $225,000. This is based on information provided by the tax assessor's office on the average mean value of a home in Henry County. That fair market value of $225,000 is multiplied by 40%, which gives us an assessed value of $90,000. That $90,000 is, from there we subtract any homestead amounts. Again, this is considering a standard L1 homestead, which would be $15,000 from your county taxes, which would give you a taxable amount of $75,000. That $75,000 is multiplied by your millage rate, 0.012733, which would give you $954.98 in county taxes. Again, that's based on a standard L1 exemption. To take another example of a non-homesteaded property, to show you kind of the difference between a homestead versus non-homestead, a non-homesteaded property with a value of, again, same value, $225,000 times the 40%, same assessed value of $90,000. However, without that exemption, you don't have that $15,000 deduction, so you're taxed on the full $90,000 as opposed to $75,000, which would give you $90,000 times the millage rate, which would give you a tax bill of county taxes of $1,145. The difference between the two, same value home, is roughly $190.99. So people often ask, what is the value of that exemption? And that's about what it is, $109.99 versus those who do versus those who don't have their homestead in place. One other quick example regarding what happens to you in a tax bill if, in this case, the property value goes up and the millage rate remains the same, which is the scenario that we have this year with the board considering not raising the millage, but we have seen an increase in our property values. So based on a property value increase on a 200,000 home, so just took as an example, took an increase of 10%, the property value, the fair market value increasing from 200,000 to 220,000. From there, that 220, that new value would then be multiplied by your 40% assessment value, which would give you an $88,000 assessed value. That $88,000 times your millage rate would give you a taxable value of $1,120.50, and that would be for non-homesteaded property. The increased amount of 101 on non-homesteaded property. And I say non-homesteaded property because if you're homesteaded, you're automatically in the frozen, your home value has already been frozen at the previous amount. So so long as your property value increases beyond that of your base amount, your county tax would not increase. And again, I'll give a better example of that in just a minute. But bear in mind, the frozen provision does not apply to county, to school board taxes. It only applies to the county tax portion. So you may see an increase in your overall tax bill based on the value increase on your school board side, but not on your county tax side. Just a quick overview of the exemptions that we have in place. Again, as stated, the standard L1 exemption that most homeowners realize, that's for having a home here in Henry County as your principal domicile. You get to deduct $15,000 off your fair market value, or off of your assessed value rather. Then beginning at age 62, you begin to realize some exemptions with your school taxes. At age 62, that exemption amount is $20,000. Age 65, the exemption amount increases to $80,000. At age 68, the exemption amount increases to $120,000. At age 70, here in Henry County, you are no longer required to pay any school taxes. Some of the other exemptions that exist include disability exemptions, veterans exemptions, and then we get into other things like conservation, Freeport with our commercial properties, forest land. And again, at the bottom, you see the frozen exemption, which I want to kind of talk a little bit more in detail too about now, because we get a lot of questions about this one. The frozen exemption was enacted by local legislation in 2004 by the then Board of Commissioners. This includes only the primary residence and up to 5 acres of contiguous land. It's based on the base year value is the fair market value of your home from the year prior to filing for homestead. So if you were to apply today, that base year would be 2021 because it wouldn't go until, you wouldn't see until your 2022 taxes. The exemption is automatically renewed from year to year so long as the resident continues to occupy the home as their primary residence, and homeowner pays on the base year value of the county and water portion of the tax bill, even if the value increases beyond the base year. So if you bought your home and it was valued at $200,000, that becomes your base year value. If 5 years later your value has increased to $300,000, you would still be paying at that $200,000 level on your county taxes. I want to stress that, on your county taxes. So while you may see an increase based on the property value increase on your school board taxes, you would not on your county taxes. So that's really the gist of it. And again, this is a really unique provision that only a handful of counties throughout the state of Georgia incorporate. So again, it's a true benefit for county residents. And this is one of the bigger exemptions that they realize. And it's solely a benefit. People often ask, well, what happens if my property value decreases below the base year value? You would still only be taxed at the lower number, not at the higher base year value, if your value should go down below the base year number. As we saw back in year 2009, 10, 11, and 12, a lot of those values had gone below the base year values. So that's the frozen provision. Where our tax dollars go is often the question we like to share with residents on a regular basis as well. For all the taxes that we collect, the majority of the taxes actually go to our schools. Maintenance and operation, that's sent to M&O for school, approximately 50% with the 20 mills, and another 8% on the school bond. That school bond has been at 3.62 for a number of years. So roughly 58% of all taxes collected goes towards our school system for the maintenance and operations and to retire some of their bond debt. The remaining portion, 37% goes towards county and government services. Again, you see that same millage number, 12.733 that we talked about earlier. Again, we'll get into the details of that in just a moment. And remaining 5% is from the Water Authority bond, and that's a steady tube mill that's been in place for several years as well. The digest process is kind of what we're going through right now, the finalizing and perfecting the digest. This is very much a collaborative process. It really starts with our tax assessor's office, and again, I really want to thank John Self and Cooper Keller and Stephanie Smith and his whole team in the assessor's office for the work that they've done. And you know, they kind of begin the process with their appeals and meeting their deadlines, and they forward the information over to us. But they've done a stellar job over the last several years and making sure they're getting the information in a timely manner, as accurate as it's been. From there, it goes to my office and picked up by Ms. Lynn Carty, Deputy Tax Commissioner, and she has done a phenomenal job year after year, her and her staff, of making sure they compile the information, get everything done, checked, working with our software folks to make sure that all the files and all the lists that come through are accurate. We also work hand in hand with our Board of Education. We were with them last night as they actually adopted, they did their final adoption of once again, they kept with their 20 mil bond, so they passed their millage last night. And again, same thing, just a great partnership over the years. And certainly the Board of Commissioners. You know, a lot of this hinges on the process, and it starts with the adoption of the budget to be able to back into this number. So again, just the support we've had from the Board of Commissioners, again, the timeliness of being able to have the meetings. We know the challenge of having these special call meetings can often be a challenge, but again, your ability to kind of avail yourselves to make sure this goes forward and goes smoothly as it has been a big help. Then we also deal with each one of the cities of Stockbridge, McDonough, Hampton, Locust Grove. While only the city of McDonough has a city tax, we also still have to get there. Each one of the other cities still has to submit their zero millage, and they provide that information as well as some of their other fee lists. Once all this is compiled, it goes on to the Department of Revenue, and they do the final review. And once they give us a final sign-off, when they're able to move forward with submitting the bills. The digest itself is a listing of assessments and exemptions consisting of real and personal property. That's the majority one we usually talk about. Timber, mobile homes, motor vehicles, heavy-duty equipment, and public utilities. The digest itself must be approved by the State Department of Revenue before taxes can be mailed out. Bills must be received 60 days in advance of a due date. So again, the timing on all of our steps and all of our processes is critical to make sure that we meet that 60-day deadline. And again, this ties directly to our ability to be able to get the bills out and ability to bring monies in for government services, for our schools. So again, maintaining that those schedules is a critical part of what we do. I mentioned earlier the millage rates that we're going to be looking at, and in a moment, right after this meeting, the board will be considering a resolution for the formal adoption of the millage rate. The millage rate you'll be adopting is actually a combination of a couple of different millage rates. It's the county millage rate, which is 8.788. That's the countywide millage rate. But included to make up the total millage rate is our fire millage rate of 1.105, a police special millage rate of 1.824, a recreation millage rate of 0.685, and an unincorporated millage rate of 0.0331, which includes particular departments, GIS, building department, planning and zoning, and some others. Collectively, that adds up to your countywide millage rate of 12.733. But since the board made the decision last year to segregate out those special service district millage rates, the resolution is crafted in a way where it lists the countywide as 8.77, then the fire, police, recreation, and unincorporated. So you'll see a total of 5 different set millage rates, and collectively that adds up to the 12.733, which is the same number that has been in place for the last several years. And I think it's important to kind of give some context to this for the public, principally. You know, just the accolades that are due to this Board of Commissioners, and in particular the county manager and her staff, for being able to find creative and innovative ways to keep the millage rate where it is. You know, what this represents is, again, this is the county's ability to be able to collect taxes to provide services. So be able to continue to provide services without having to raise this millage rate is really just an incredible feat, particularly given the fact that we've seen costs for materials in particular rise over the last couple of years. So be able to do this, again, the board, county staff is really to be commended. You know, and as a citizen of Henry County, I'm greatly appreciative of the creative abilities that that this county has taken to make sure that not overburden the public, but to be able to keep the millage rate where it's been for the last several years. So again, kudos to all involved. Sample tax bill, again, just that's what it will look like. It's tough to read, so what we did was kind of take the main portions and just blew it up a little bit. Again, just taking a fair market value of $225, that assessed value of $90,000, again, same thing, an L1 exemption. You'll see your exemption number on the top right, minus the $15,000. This is your taxable value, and your tax bill will list all of your millage rates in one column, and at the very bottom, that'll add up to, once you add up your 12.736, you subtract out your sales tax credit to give you your 8.788. Then you add in your unincorporated SSDs, your water, your school, to give you a total millage rate of 38.36, again, which has been the same it's been for the last number of years. And to give you a total, because one of the comments we received from one of our citizens was, in the presentation, it doesn't give a true accounting of what the bill may look like. So we add some additional context so people understood that while we're simply adopting the county millage rate of a total of 12.733, all these other items are still very much part of the bill. So again, property valued at $225,000 with an L1, they're looking at a bill of ballpark about $3,000. So to give people just a better idea of kind of what that bill would look like. As stated by state law, we had to have 3 public hearings, this being the third. Those were held on July 20th at 10, July 20th at 6:30, and again this morning at 10 a.m. And then following this meeting, we'll move forward with the adoption. I'm happy to take any questions or comments that the board may have.
Okay. Do we have any questions from the board?
Chair Harrell, I just wanted to make you all aware that for those viewers that are viewing the meeting via Facebook, the sound is not working. And so there is a link on the county's Facebook page which will send them to the YouTube page, and then for charter subscribers, channel 180. So if you are getting messages, we are aware that the Facebook page is not working, but YouTube and charter 180 is working for those that are viewing the meeting.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Harris, for the presentation. This is a public hearing, and so if there is anyone that would like to come forward and speak, please come to the podium and state your name, and you have 3 minutes to speak. Okay, it appears that we do not have anyone that wish to speak in this public hearing, so the public hearing is closed. We will move forward with the adoption of the 2021-2022 millage rate. Well, I think that you need to, Patrick, does the resolution need to be read?
I think what you would, I don't think we need to read the entire resolution. I think what we need you to do is adopt each one of the different special district millage rates separately. And what I can do is call those out, and Michael maybe can tell us what the millage rate, because I don't know what the number is. Yep. Oh, no, I do. They're in here. So the first one that the board's going to want to vote on is the Police Protection Special District of 1.824 mils. So just a motion to approve that, and we vote on that motion.
Okay, so motion?
Motion to approve.
Second from Commissioner Cannon. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion passes.
And then a motion to approve the Fire Protection Special District at 1.105 mils.
Okay, can I get a motion? Okay, motion by Commissioner Cannon, second by Commissioner Thomas. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion passed.
And then the Recreation Special District of 0.685 mils.
Can I get a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Motion, Commissioner Thomas. Can I get a second? Second by Commissioner Cannon. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion passed.
And then the Unincorporated Special Services District at 0.331 mils.
Okay, can I get a motion to approve? Okay. Can I get a second? Second by Commissioner Thomas. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion
And then
passed.
the countywide millage rate of 8.788 mils.
Okay, can I get a motion to approve?
So move.
Can I get a second? Any discussion? Motion all in favor? Motion carries.
And then the last thing, if you would just approve the resolution as presented, which imposes the overall millage rate, the public school system millage rate of 20 mils, the school bond millage rate of 3.628 mils, the water and sewer bonds at 2 mils, and the other millage rates you have adopted.
Okay, so can I get a motion to approve the entire resolution? Okay.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Motion carries. Patrick, is that it? Is that anything else?
Thank you all.
Okay, thank you. Meeting is adjourned.